today is a day to commemorate the importance of yoga for the wellness of the body and mind. Yoga combines spiritual, mental, and physical practices that have their roots in ancient India or since ancient India. Nestled in the foothills of Himalayas, Rishikesh has long been considered as the yoga capital of India and indeed the world. Nestled in the southern state of Karnataka, Mysuru is a city steeped in history and culture, is known as Ashtanga Yoga capital of the world, attracting yogis from around the globe who seek to deepen their practice and study with some of the world's top Ashtanga Yoga teachers. Not just that, today is World's Day of Music too. Just an added information to speculate your thinking. Ladies and gentlemen, and dear students, a warm greetings from Time Mysuru for today's Charter Members Spotlight Fireside Chat. I, Kishan GS, Associate Member, Time Mysuru, host for today's evening. I invite Dr. Mahesh Rao, President, Time Mysuru, to welcome the most promising audience we have here.
Good evening. The students who are there, I'm not hearing you at all. Good evening. Thank you. It gives me immense pleasure to see such a good gathering, and I hope the gathering gets much more interesting as we move forward. And it's Mysore. So, typical, it's an Indian stretchable time. We are supposed to start at 6:30, so it will be a little bit stretched from that perspective. However, today's program is very interesting from two different perspectives. One is our charter members who are established in Mysore for a period of time are going to come and talk about their journey over the period of time, how the tribulations which they have gone through, the difficulties which they have faced, and how they have solved the problems which are akin to a small town like Mysore. From that perspective, they will be talking about. And the second part of it is, it's very interesting that another charter member who is a friend of theirs and has been in the same typical kind of industry is going to be talking to them, and it will be a good fireside chat with a few firecrackers going up, and I hope that will be interesting. Okay? So with that said, without making any more introductions part of it, I would like to say that the TIE believes in the 5 pillars, which is networking, mentoring, educating, investing, and incubating. The TIE Mysuru, which has been here for about 5 years, going into the 6th year, has been pioneering in that area, and we are the ones who have been having monthly events which are offline, face-to-face meetings, compared to quite a few chapters. TIE is established in 16 countries with about 65 chapters. With that being said, I would say that, let's start today's conversation. Thank you very much for coming, and I hope you will all enjoy the program today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Spotlighting our own charter members can be a great way to recognize our own people's contribution, celebrate their achievements, and get inspired too. We have Mr. Ajith Pai, founding member and past president of Time Mysuru, to moderate and conduct the fireside chat for today's event. Mr. Ajith Pai is a mechanical engineering graduate from SJCE Mysore and holds a master degree in business administration from University of Toledo, USA. He is a second generation serial entrepreneur, presently joint managing director of VMF Group of Industries. He is the founder of Green Earth Fresh Produce, started in 2009, and has grown into one of the largest contract farmers for fresh exotic vegetables in the country, based out of Nilgiris, and a retail or institution focused B2B supply chain business. He started PayPal Ventures in 2017 with the motto of fund by the founders for the founders in agritech, edtech, solar, machine learning, data analytics, SaaS, crypto, blockchain, material science, and digital health and e-commerce in India, Singapore, and in US. Mr. Pai also possesses his passion in reading, trekking, motorcycling, and photography. To quote a few, He has trekked around Mount Kailash and Manasarovara in Tibet, trekked to Everest Base Camp, Nepal, and has traveled to the bottom of the earth, Antarctica, in 2008, and he has climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, Tanzania. He is also a tech enthusiast who emphasized on ChatGPT for many of the time members, including me. He is married to Srimati Pratibha and they are blessed with two sons, Nikhil and Nihal. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands in welcoming Mr. Ajith Pai onto the dais to conduct the fireside chat for today's evening. Thai Mysuru, I would like to invite Mr. Ashok Rao, Managing Director, KGK Engineering Mysuru, onto the dais, sir, please. I invite Mr. Sunil Chainrai, Managing Partner, Cherry Pick India, onto the dais, sir. And I invite Mr. Ashwinni Kumar Hemdev, Chairman, Krriyan Kontainers Pvt Limited, onto the dais, sir, please. Thank you. Before we head into the session, I would like to bring it to everyone notice that a question card is placed on each of the table, which could be used by the audience to write your questions, and same shall be addressed during the Q&A sessions, rather passing the microphone. I try to go with. Thank you all, and over to you, Ajit, sir.
These are some of the most interesting sessions that we have, knowing our own members, what we do, and how they all are a part of a larger ecosystem in Mysore. Before I begin, let me just put my thoughts on entrepreneurship. To me, entrepreneurship is taking responsibility. You are solely responsible for the results. It's the ultimate meritocracy. Entrepreneurship is very creative. You're creating something from nothing. It's like art meeting economics. And finally, entrepreneurship is very optimistic. We have all heard of 90% of the startups fail. Most stats give businesses a 50% chance of success. If any of you are presented a financial investment with these odds, you wouldn't touch it with a barge pole. So who else but an optimist can ever think of becoming an entrepreneur? So without further delay, let's meet our brave, responsible, creative optimists today. Welcome Ashok, Sunil and Ashwin. Like they were saying here, I have an advantage and disadvantage of knowing all three of them too well. I count them as some of my closest friends. I've traveled with all of them, partied with all of them, motorcycled with a couple of them, and our kids even hang out together sometimes. Which only means that I'm in the unique position of knowing things that we absolutely cannot discuss today. So the next hour or so, we'll discuss everything except that. So let me begin by exploring how you got here. Ashwin, you are a second generation entrepreneur. I remember coming to your factory in 1996 or thereabouts in the Yadavgiri industrial area. Your father had started the flexible packaging business that you took over. From then to now having 3 different factories, a variety of products, and some world-class customers. Tell us a bit about your journey over the last 25 years.
Thank you so much, Ajit, and a very good evening to all of you. Yeah, packaging, actually I was very lucky to have been born into very lucky to be a second generation entrepreneur. And packaging industry itself, at some point of time, was always 20 to 30 years behind our European counterparts. Today I can definitely tell you that we are at par with global players. When we started, my dad started this factory in 1973. And our most important customer was Paris Confectionery. I hope many of us would remember having the orange boiled candy. So the wrappers was applied by us. So there were 2 chocolates which were very popular. One was the orange candy and one was the Lacto King. So we always used to see in our factory either an orange color getting printed or the green color. There to today, it has been a journey which I have seen evolve every 2 or 3 years. And now it's evolving even faster. As we go forward, we talk about packaging, we talk about sustainability. because plastics has been seen as a villain in the industry today. So we talk about paper, we talk about biodegradable materials, we talk about recyclable materials. And this is where all our efforts go in making this, bringing this to the customers. So the journey has been wonderful. It has been a great learning. It still is a learning. Every day is a learning. Suddenly one day we are surprised that, as though we don't know anything. So such surprises keep coming back to you, but it's a great journey so far. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashwin. Ashok, your journey is not that of a typical entrepreneur. You got a master's degree from UMass Amherst, US, worked in the US for a few years, got back to India in 1992, joined Bosch, worked there for 7 years, and then in Kalyani Group for 15 years. You were the president of Automotive Axles here, when finally after 25 years in the corporate world and into your late 40s, early 50s, I won't guess which side, you struck out on your own. Was corporate life so bad that you decided entrepreneurship is better? Or was there any specific incident that prompted you to start this business? What exactly prompted this madness?
I think first of all, good evening everybody. You're right in the madness part of it. It still continues. Sabrishan, my colleague from Automotive Axles, is also here. We had a great time starting from, Sabrishan joined in 94, sorry. And I joined in 99. I was there till 2013. It was a very interesting time where we operated almost like entrepreneurs in a joint venture. Thanks to Dr. Baba Saheb Kalyani, he gave us a free hand. And we were not too big for the other joint venture partner sitting in the US to start fiddling around. So we were in that sweet spot where, we were in the sub 100 crores and then, we were ramping up. So it was a very good time and a good place to be in, where you had the freedom of trying out a lot of things. You had a lot of, let's say, authority which was given, to execute your activities without too much of interference from the board and for that matter, the joint venture partners. But at the same time, you had reasonably strong fundamentals which had been built over the years. So there was a lot of work that Sabrishan and his team had done in cleaning up on the financial side, with the banks and restructuring the loans and so on and so forth. But thereafter, when I joined, the market was just right for the heavy-duty axles and brakes. And the country was seeing a change in the types of vehicles that were operating. So it gave us a very, very good area to operate in. And all that was fine and dandy, but I always had this bit that I need to be on my own. It's only so much you can listen to other people and play this game of that goes on in joint ventures. So you have two partners who are in the joint venture, and both of them are not in the joint venture for the same purpose. Now, each one has their own thoughts. And somebody like Sabrishan or me, we are sitting in between. So one fellow says, do this, the other fellow says exactly do the opposite. So, okay, once in a way it's fine, but, to go through this day in and day out, after a point, the position is nice and, everybody says, in Mysuru, it was small at that time, automotive axles and all that. But what goes on inside the kitchen, we know. So at that point, I said, enough of this. I became an entrepreneur just before I turned 50.
Okay, thank you.
And when I jumped into that field, I had no clue about what I was going to do. Okay, so I operate on a principle that if you need to do something, you just need to get into the water. There's no point in saying that I'll wait for the right time. Of course, we have two eminent businessmen here. I'm not a business guy. That I can tell up front, and I'm more of a technical guy. But the thing is that once you've thrown your life jacket out, now you've got to figure out something. So there was a process of experimentation for about a year to figure out what I should do. And then finally, got back into manufacturing, product development, and so on and so forth. I'll talk more about that later as the things evolve. But the whole thing was to work on my own. And what you said earlier, that the creative part of it, number one. And number two, you are your own boss. So if there is a bad decision, you have only yourself to blame. Of course, your wife will keep nagging about it. Everything was fine and dandy and you chose at the age of 50 to go out on your own. But okay, that has to be handled in a totally different way. But those are the biggest motivators for me to be on my own. Never a regret. Health-wise, I'm much better than what I was. Not that I was having any major problems, but I feel fit and fine, number one. And number two, before I started the business, I didn't know what was loan, I didn't know what was EMI, interest. Today, that's about the only thing I know. So that's been the journey so far.
Thank you, Ashok. We'll explore more as we go along. Sunil, you began your career in the film industry. Before everyone here asks which roles and movie, let me clarify. It's a film distribution and exhibition business. I mean, he looks like a film star, but that is not the role he played. Rangila and DDLJ, I've heard these two words very often, were the iconic films that he was instrumental in distributing those days. From that to furniture is quite the pivot. What exactly happened? Feel free to share the juicy gossip.
Well, thanks Ajith for the very nice introduction and good evening everyone. Well, when I got into film distribution, that was the only option I had, and it was a wonderful journey with movies like Rangila and DDLJ to start with, a very colorful journey because I was all the time with the best of the Bollywood producers, directors, music directors, and of course the film stars. So it all started there. I never wanted to leave that and come. But unfortunately or fortunately in 2003, the digitalization of movies happened. So the only role of the distributor was to be a bridge between the producer and the exhibitor directly. The moment digitalization was announced, we guys were in the absolute peak of our distribution career. But we didn't wait. We just decided that yes, we need to close now before the industry pushes us out. Oh, that was a very good decision. At that point of time, I was ridiculed by all my peers, everybody in the industry. Nobody was saying it was the right decision, but that was exactly the right moment to quit the industry. How I got into furniture is, at the same time, I found one more beautiful way to do business and also enjoy life. It was to get into imported furniture. The markets were just opening for furniture. There weren't any big importers, or rather I would say there were a very, very few importers in India who were going abroad personally and bringing the furniture. So after Bollywood, you can't get into any industry like automotive axles or, suddenly from where to where. Sorry, or packaging industry, as a matter of fact. So I wanted to have some glamour. That's one of the main reasons why I got into furniture, importing furniture, and journey's been good till now.
Okay, we shall explore more with the filmy angle. Ashok, you stay in Mysore, but you set up KGK Engineering in Bangalore. What were the circumstances specific to you that prompted this shift? What would have had to happen in Mysore for you to set something up here?
Okay, as I told you, 1 year I was trying to figure out, where I should really get into. I did some consulting and things like that. It just so happened that number one, there was a company which came up for sale in Bangalore. And when I was doing my due diligence here in terms of seeing what I could do in Mysore, purely from a manufacturing point of view, I found that it was lacking in many, many areas. That was one. And I quickly realized that if you have to do something in Mysore, since the ecosystem is not very, very big, you have to start everything from scratch. Now, there are pros and cons for both, buy a piece of land or rent something and, set up the infrastructure, the people and so on and so forth. But that you're going to lose a couple of years in just getting all of that right. So that was something which I realized in hindsight, buying a company which was through a slump sale, which was in the same line, made eminent sense. I mean, because everything was already there. They had an order book with HAL, and aerospace was something which I was not, which I had not worked in, and I thought that would be a good area to be in, looking at all that was happening. So that's how I ended up moving to Bangalore, since the company was in Bangalore, and I was doing this. I've been doing the shuttling for about 10 years now. Mondays I go to Bangalore. Thursday, Friday or Saturday I come back to Mysore. Mysore is still a beautiful place to spend the weekend in. And Bangalore is slightly better from a work perspective on the weekdays. It's simply because the ecosystem and access to people and customers is much, much better in Bangalore. Especially you start getting into more of the deep manufacturing, typically what happens in aerospace, or more so if you're developing products, then Bangalore is a better place from a mechanical / manufacturing point of view. Mysore, things have changed, things have improved, but you simply don't have the depth of let's say, each field, the depth that you have in Bangalore, you simply don't have it in Mysore. So you would end up running to Bangalore or Coimbatore or Chennai or wherever, so which again means a lot of time that is lost. So from that point of view, Bangalore was a right decision. But from a cost perspective and from retention of manpower and all that, you have other challenges. But so that's a thing that you have to sort of deal with. Coming back to your question about Mysore, Mysore does not have, or now it is having good anchor industries. So typically, if you are an entrepreneur, you go in one of two routes. You become part of a supply chain, supplying to the big companies, or you have your own product, which then gets integrated into other people's products. For both of that, a larger city, a lot of anchor companies plays a very, very big role. Things are now changing in Mysore, but 2014-13 situation was not all that great.
Makes sense. You also mentioned that your health is much better. I think this weekend marriage thing is also helping. Sunil, your situation is different. As a retailer, we all know Bangalore offers a much bigger audience. But that's always been the case for many years. And you moved only in the last 4 or 5 years to Bangalore. What were some of the challenges you faced with relocation at this age, after so many years in Mysore?
Just to remind you, I'm 15 years younger to you, so I would not say at this age. I think even 15 years from now, if I had to relocate from Bangalore to Bombay or to LA, I don't mind. So, age is only in the mind, Ajith.
Ask the kids here, they'll have different story there.
Well, the challenges were there, but to move to Bangalore, yes, the markets are more demanding there. Markets are big, yes. You can't be doing the same way, business you can't be doing the same way, retailing in Mysore and retailing in Bangalore, or I would say like North Pole and South Pole. Mysore, it's the price consciousness, whereas I would say in Bangalore, people look at value. They probably don't mind paying more, but they want a bigger discount in terms of percentage. And then when it comes to service, Mysore mein sab chalta hai. It's not good, no problem, sir, kammi madi. we'll buy it from you. But Bangalore is not like that. You take whatever you want, I want the best service. So for us to move from Mysore culture to Bangalore culture, this was few things. And well, once you determine yourself to establish, so any markets you can sell, it should not be a problem.
Thanks, Sunil. Ashwin, you continued the bulk of your manufacturing in Mysore. Is your business location agnostic? Do you have any challenges that you face in Mysore, being in Mysore for a business that you're in?
Not really, because our industry is mostly to do with B2B. And if the service is good, the quality is good, the pricing is set, what happens is the same customers keep developing and generating more business. That's what is our business. But after having heard these two, I think I have not even thought about moving to Bangalore. Possibly I should think about it now. I don't know if I'm missing out on something. So, yeah, but Mysore has been a great city for us. I mean, being here, born, brought up here, never thought of going outside of Mysore, always thought of building up our infrastructure in Mysore. Whenever we expanded, we never thought of anything beyond Mysore. So Mysore is close to our hearts, and my family is here. They're also engaged in the business entirely, my wife and my 2 children. So, yeah, Mysore has been good.
For SMEs, differentiation is the key. I'm sure you'll all agree that in India, there's always somebody who will give a lower price. You think you're giving the best price and somebody is going to give lower. So how do you differentiate yourself from the competition? It could be delivery, quality, innovation, all of the above, some of the above. So Ashwin, over the years, you've expanded your product offering. Can you tell us some of the newer developments that are delighting your customer, getting them to come to you and stick with you?
Yeah, so basically, packaging is much more than just packing. Whatever you pack inside, the description is from the outside. So, literally today, if you see anything in the market, food, FMCG, automobiles, your water bottles, the labels, everything is packaged. So, what does the customer want? Any customer, when you're running an industry, what you want is you want ease of business. You want it to run well on your machines. Today, whatever is packed lasts 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. You need to decide on the structure of the material. You need to decide the barriers required. You cannot give the customer something which doesn't work for him, right? So now there are you have atta, rice, which is packed 5 kilos, 10 kilos. When it drops, it should not burst. So the customer's faith in you has to be immense, that this guy is going to give me the right product and he understands the business. Price is a very important factor. Competition is there in every business. Efficiencies matter. So to make ourselves more efficient, we have done a lot of backward integration. We manufacture our own inks. We manufacture our own master batches. We manufacture our own paper cores on which the rolls are bound. We are now going to manufacture our own corrugated boxes. It helps us to save a lot of cost. It helps us to keep a check on the quality. And we have also gone forward integration. We are going to be doing a lot of anti-counterfeit packaging. So these innovations have been driven by the customer. So when you go to a customer, there are 2 things he asks. First thing he'll ask you, what's the price? Because it's a very general trend that you go to any customer, they'll ask you the trend of packaging, what's the pricing? And then they'll ask what's new. And then they'll share with you their challenges. Every innovation comes out of a challenge. So we have been trying to work around those, and that has actually brought us ahead. We have just set up a world-class unit where we manufacture anti-counterfeit packaging, which I understand is the only kind in India. So, and possibly, if things go well, we could be doing a lot on these subjects. And we are also having more products like which can dissolve in water. A packaging material, you bring it home, you dump it anywhere, it dissolves with the soil and with water. So we just developed an all paper pouch. It's got zero plastic. The thing is that we are quite ahead in times. People are not willing to pay for it right now. So when the government comes up with its rules, we are ready. We just developed a takeaway back box which can pack rice, biryani, dry. It's all paper, zero plastic. And it has got an OGR. What's an OGR? OGR is oil and grease resistant. So these are the things that we've been working on. The customers do appreciate that. And the pricing is something which we also need to keep a check, because unless we are affordable, the customer wouldn't buy. So that's what we've been doing.
Wonderful to hear, Ashwin. Thank you. Ashok, you work with aerospace and automotive industries. What are some of the things that you've done that make you stand out and the customer supplier of choice?
You know, on the aerospace, we are part of a supply chain. Our biggest customer is HAL. So we get the orders through tendering. So we still go through that L1 process. So there, it's only a question of being able to adapt to their particular style of working. So now, you know, Ashwin's area is, you know, bulk. You know, you supply to the big companies, FMCG or what have you. So the aerospace is something like a cross between these two businesses. You know, no two furniture pieces will be the same, or you know, there'll be some differences or the other. So in case of aerospace, the type of parts that we do, the volumes are small, complexity is high, and the batches are small. So we have to be extremely flexible in being able to set up and run these small batches as per the requirement of the customer, and yet being profitable. So there's a very, very big lesson that, or at least that was a big mindset change that I had to, me and a couple of other guys who were from the auto industry, who had to undergo when we got into aerospace. Because you can't sit and complain about setups, because you know, if you are running small batches and you know, these are complex parts, so you have to set the machines up for the number of whatever operations that are required. So you can't sit and crib about it. You know, give me 10,000 and then I'll do. You know, HAL makes all of, I don't know, 20 or 25 helicopters in a year. That is their production size. The helicopter has something like 25 or 30,000 parts, manufactured parts in its bill of material. And each one of them is tendered out. So some of them may go in, you know, multiples of that 20 plus MRO, whatever they do. So your volumes are small. So the way we have made ourselves more and more attractive to HAL is being more and more accommodative of their own issues. You know, they import the raw material and they get it in small sizes and they have to distribute, blah, blah, blah. So we have to be well in tune with all of that. And back again to pricing. Since it's e-tendering, everybody knows everybody's price. So once the tender is opened, I know exactly each and every one of my competitors' price. So beyond that, it becomes a game of rummy. So I know, okay, last time he has bid this way. I throw all my technical stuff out of the window. I say, okay, he's going to bid this way. I think if I go 100 rupees lower, I shall get it. And it has worked. But it has got us to the point where we wonder whether we have a shirt, bunion still left, you know. So long story short, we have now pivoted using that same approach more into automotive space, and I'll talk more about that, you know, products that we have introduced in the market for fuel security. But that mindset has helped us in this business, and we are now exiting the aerospace business. We are exiting the aerospace business because it is simply not remunerative. It's simply not remunerative. It's very counter and contra thinking, and also it was a good learning, but it doesn't go gel with what we want to do in the future, which is more of IP generation. When you're in supply chain, there's only so much of IP generation you can do, unless you're doing things like revolutionary things like packaging which will dissolve in water or whatever. So there, I think you are setting the trend, and customers will jump onto your bandwagon as as whatever the things change, regulations change.
Oh, it's indeed counterintuitive, because today aerospace and defense seems to be the hot sectors to be in. And if you look at some of the companies, the valuations they're getting on the market, So it's
Yeah, I'll come to that. See, it's difficult if you are bootstrapped to get into the big league of aerospace. HAL has been an extremely benign customer simply because they buy all the raw material. I mean, there are certain things that one has to understand about aerospace. It's an extremely regulated business, and it is also extremely controlled by the raw material people. You know, someone was talking about material science. It's all about material science. And HAL imports bulk of their raw material. When the Galwan thing happened, our entire scheduling, what we had in the pipeline, everything went for a toss. Today we have purchase orders, we have on paper, we have a nice long pipeline of orders, but there's no material, absolutely no material. So what happens with all the other big guys, who are doing it? They import the raw material. So it's a game which is possible if you have access to a lot of funding. So you invest very heavily in the raw material and that part of the supply chain. You have to wait for your parts to get certified, approved. Once you get past that, life is good. The Boeings or Safrans or whatever, they will keep ordering. So you ride with that wave. So that way it's great. But in terms of the business, it's both OPEX and CAPEX intensive, very, very intensive.
interesting. Sunil, you opened a new showroom in Bangalore recently. What was the purpose? How did you want to differentiate yourself from the other retailers? And if so, how did you achieve that?
Well, our showroom that we opened in 2015 is called Cherry Pick Fine Furniture in Kormangala. The products we sell there are sofas and dinings. So this product market space got pretty crowded, and we wanted to side by side diversify into something where the players are lesser and value can be achieved. So we thought of having a different location, add up one more location, and have some bespoke furniture where the players are less and the entry barrier is quite high. So along with that, we also, while doing that, in midst of selecting our suppliers, we came across a very good company called Metra from Italy, which is into making world-class doors and windows. So that, I think, is one space where there's absolute void in Bangalore. The best of the best architects, the best of the biggest clients in Bangalore, all had not even seen a product like that. So that's when we said, yes, let's jump into it. It was a very tough decision because the whole line is very much new to me even till now. Though I'm about 15, 18 months in this line, there are so many new surprises which I even till date come across. We thought we should do this because the entry barrier is high, the turnovers are big, and the most important thing is the satisfaction you get when you're doing a very, very high-end exclusive product, a very luxury product which very few people could even afford or even have a look at. So that's great. That's the reason we did this.
Thank you. Entrepreneurship is a journey that's filled with roadblocks and challenges. You have to get new skills, overcome these challenges. So what's been the most difficult skill for you to acquire as you went along the journey? Or a challenging situation that you had to deal with as an entrepreneur? How did you overcome it? Did you take any help from outside? Can you reflect and comment? Ashwin.
So, the journey of an entrepreneur is something which you can never predict, right? So 2018, when everything was going good and we thought everything is wonderful, we had a major fire accident in our factory. The entire factory was gutted overnight, So we were exporting a lot of materials. Things were all going good. We were supplying pan-India. Overnight, 2018, 31st December, there was a major fire accident and things just...
Yeah, I remember that.
It was a very big shocker and a surprise. So the challenges that we faced, everybody around you would lose faith in you. They would say, this guy is gone, he's wiped off, and your creditors, your customers would suddenly start thinking that whether these guys can supply or not. Thankfully, we had the older unit which was still producing the materials. So the challenges that an entrepreneur can face it could come anyway. You could never estimate or imagine what it could be. So that time we had to reach out to all our creditors, our debtors, our team. Because even our team was wondering whether they would stay back or would we ask them to leave. So we had a lot of hope and faith that we had to assure. So that challenge is something which I personally faced. And it was a tough time because, the insurance guys, to deal with an insurance was a challenge. It was a nightmare. So I had so many sleepless nights all of a sudden. So challenges could be anything that an entrepreneur could face. This was something which I went through. Somebody else could have some other situation. But yes, it was the faith and faith in my own self that yes, we could bounce back. Faith in of course, my family and my team. And that phase was very challenging and it really gave us a lot of insight as to it made us more stronger. It made us emerge more stronger with when we bounced back. So challenges could be anything. I could just briefly put it that way.
I remember that night. It was really a shocker and I really admire you for having overcome that. I kept talking to you over the next few months and the kind of tension you went through, right from getting fire engines to the spot at that point in time. A typical negotiation was going on. To talk to insurance companies, to come and do surveys, you went through hell and I'm glad you're out of it.
One thing which, thank you so much. Thanks, Ajith. And I must definitely tell you that Ajith, Sunil, all my friends have been a great support to me. I must definitely tell you one challenge that our country definitely is facing, please keep this off records, is corruption. It's unbelievable and you cannot imagine the kind of things that people could ask you at a time where you don't even expect them to. So that's one thing which is a big challenge that all of us definitely would face.
Ashok, Sunil, the same question?
Well, challenges I faced was totally different. The main challenge when I just started film distribution was none of the theatre owners wanted to play my movies. That's because they had a small cartel where they were very happy playing their regular distributors' movies and they didn't wanted a new person to break through the comfort zone that they were in. So the way I overcame it was like, if there are about 100 movies releasing, I bought 95 straight. They had no choice but to come and say, please give me the movies. So for 3 consecutive years, we have distributed solely 90 to 95% of all the Bollywood movies in Mysuru, Mandya, Hassan, Coorg. So that paved the way for me to become an exhibitor. The moment I had that kind of stock and inventory for the next 3 years, all the theatre people came to me and said, why don't you take my theatre on lease? So there it started. We started another vertical. We became one of the leading exhibitors of theatres in Mysuru, Mandya, Hassan, Coorg, Shimoga, Chikmagalur, Davangere. We had theatre owners all over coming to us and we made money there too. That's it.
Ashok?
Two challenges. One is it's a self-created. How much do you keep aside for working capital? That was 2014-15 when we started. I had grossly underestimated working capital. So focus was on, buying the business, capex, वगैरह वगैरह. And that took some time to readjust and, bring things back to line. So that was a personal learning, put your hand in the fire and say, yeah, it really burns. And the other major challenge which we have now overcome is our aerospace business, where we did not expect that business to go down the way it has gone. So at least, other people may have other stories or whatever it is, but for us that was a major thing. And there we have pivoted to exports. So that's where the development of our own products has helped. So we run a joint venture with a UK company. We produce fuel security equipment for commercial vehicles. I don't know how many of you know, probably Manish would know that fuel theft is a very big issue in transportation worldwide. It's not something which is limited only to India. What's the extent of fuel theft? It's about 15% of the fuel that is put into a truck. So it is drivers, it is mafia, third party, you name it, they are there. So truck companies on one side are making this, Bharat stage 4, 6, 8, 10, 20, 30, whatever it is. So you get 2%, 3% fuel economy, but the cost of the vehicle jumps. And here comes along a guy with a 10 rupee or a 20 rupee pipe, sticks it into the tank. He figures out, okay, for today's kharcha pani, I require 2 liters, 3 liters, 5 liters. They just take, they sip. There's no tanking down, they sip. So that is good enough, 300, 500, 800 rupees, kharcha pani is taken care of. And here the owner would be struggling because the vehicle manufacturer would have said, you will get whatever, 4.5, 4, 5, 6, whatever, kilometers to the liter. Whichever way he does the calculation, he doesn't get that. So, so they went and started howling at the truck manufacturer, saying that, this is a major problem, what are you doing about it? That was a time we partnered with this UK company who makes such devices. These are mechanical devices which are fitted into the tank. It allows for fast filling of the tank because trucks have these big tanks, 400, 500 liter tanks. So the filling is done at very, very high speeds, like 120 liters per minute. So when you stick the nozzle in, there should not be any, resistance. But at the same time, if someone were to put a pipe into the tank or any other thing to try and suck things out, it should not be possible. And it has to be extremely robust like a lock because people will try to hammer it out or do whatever. So this company had been making this product in the UK, and incidentally, for now UK is a developed nation, and their truck size is probably 1/10 or 1/20 of our nation. They have something like 6 or 8 companies which make these type of fuel security devices. So I don't know what to say about people in the UK, but anyway, there are lots of companies who are making this. Now, we got into that business, and today, we develop products. So that's where our, IP generation comes into the process. They have patents, so we can't violate the patents. But their product will not sell as is within the country. So we developed the product around their patent to the price point which our Indian people are willing to pay. So, going back to what you say, you may put a space shuttle on the table. Kitne mein aata hai, kitna, how many, yeah, so it finally boils down to that. And once you are in that price range, then the discussions start and things move on. So so that was the creative part of that entire business, and today we are fitted on about 80% of the commercial vehicles in India, all the heavy commercial vehicles, and we are the world's largest manufacturer of these devices. So long live the thieves, so that our business will continue.
Somebody's misery is your business. People is always a challenge in India. For a nation of 1.4 billion, it's mind-boggling even to say this. Be it attracting talent, recruitment, retention, training, every stage, severe challenges, more so for SMEs. A funny incident comes to mind in one of the startups that I've invested in. A software engineer was interviewed, accepted the offer, and he called the founder to say that he's joining, but never turned up. After a few hours, the founder called him, said, what happened? He said, while he was on the way, he got another offer, accepted that, and he wanted the founder to match it if possible. Of course, he didn't. So how have you gone about recruiting and retaining people? Because that's the number one challenge I think most of us face. Do you have any humorous incidents to share to lighten the mood? Because it's a very depressing topic.
So first thing, before I answer this, Ashok, if you get me a drink, I'll tell you how much working capital you need. If you get me a drink, I can tell you how much working capital you need for your business. Thank you. Technical, I can't help you much. And when we used to be hosted by Sunil at his theaters, we had the best seats and the best popcorn, the best Coke, So thanks for that. Coming to this, I think this is a very common problem everywhere. A lot of people will take your offer letter. They go back to their current bosses. They say, look, either you give me a raise or I go, which is a very common thing which goes on even today. So your people would be the best source to get more people. That's what I believe in. And they would, if they are comfortable with you, it's very easy for them to convince the talent that you're looking for to come join you. And this, I think, works. Otherwise, it's very difficult, very tough. Your people need to, whoever comes needs to like you. They like to see you. They like to see your face. Otherwise, they wouldn't join you. And they should like what you offer them. They should like the work. So there are a lot of things, but getting a talent, building it up is very difficult, but it is very important as well. So I feel that, within your existing team, that's what we have been doing. Within our existing team, we have been trying to groom people, grow them, and ask them to get replacement at the junior levels. It's much easier. And when it comes to getting talent at the top level, of course, you have a lot of people who can assist you, find the talent, get you connected. And if both of your ideologies and vision match, I think it's easy. But yes, it is very tough. A lot of people, we face this very often. Even today, we face this.
Sunil, I remember one incident you talked about to me where he was trying to recruit a marketing manager. And he came up and said that, you please tell me what your price for the product is. Whatever else I sell above it is mine. So that was the marketing manager. I remember you telling me that. So,
yes, this was very recently. As I told you, we just started this new vertical of doors and windows. So when I was trying to recruit people who are familiar with the product and who've been in the industry, I was really shocked because anybody who used to come and say, "Sir, आपका rate बता दो, हम जो करना है हम करेंगे, आपका rate आपको पहुंच जाएगा." So I didn't know whether I'm the staff, he's the owner, or it's vice versa.
Ashok?
Yeah, we run a second business for which we don't get any money, and that's called a training school. We have had cases where people have walked in the morning. I got a phone call from here and there, and the fellow has not even stayed back for lunch. Gone. Gayab. So we know that if we need, recently we recruited about 8 or 10, no, we wanted 3. We recruited 10 from Mysuru. 10 from Mysuru. So this is campus, this, that and the other. Before the day of joining, about 3 or 4 people had various deaths in the family or, some problems, so they said we can't come. And today we are left with 2 people. Out of 10 that we gave offer letters to, and we said, they all said, yes sir, we are coming and all that, only 2 are there. This is about 3 or 4 months into post recruitment. So that's a fact of life. People come the moment they are confident about business, how work happens. Then you see inflated resumes. Some of them come back to us. They give it to some other fellow. That fellow says, "Sir, you're looking for people," and that same resume comes back to us. I mean, so we have gone through all of that. But long story short, whether it's operators, engineers, or even for that matter managers, we put them through an orientation. We spend a lot of time training them. We know that is going to be money out of the door, time out of the door. We pay for their mistakes. They scrap expensive aerospace parts, and you have to pay for all of that. But that's the cost of running the business. So we have reconciled to that, and we are doing that. On a slightly different note, the automation, at least in manufacturing, information automation is extremely, extremely critical, and that's one of the areas where we are doing a lot of work in terms of automating a lot of the processes and the workflows and things like that. While these may sound things which are done by larger companies, in fact the requirement for smaller companies is far more, and that is a very, very effective mechanism of retaining knowledge within the company. Today, an experienced guy of 3, 4, 5 years, when he leaves, there are so many smaller things that he has learned and which he has implemented, which walks out of the door with him. The next guy, for him to understand what has happened, how they solve the problems and things like that, it takes time. So we again go through that entire cycle of mistakes and learning and so on and so forth. So anyway, advice or a tip to all those who want to jump into the, especially in manufacturing, if you want to jump into this area of work, please be sure that you will get staff, but they are not going to stay for a whole lot of time. And number two, you have to spend a lot of time and effort in training them. And that is one reassurance that gives the candidate or the person who has joined that the company is interested in them. You can't simply throw them at the job and say, you somehow figure out and do it. He learns it from his co-worker. That's not a very efficient way of doing it. And that also sends wrong signals to the candidate. But we have to be prepared for this high turnover of manpower. So that's the way we deal with it.
One of my customers had a very novel solution for this. His ads said, calling failed students. He said, if you have failed engineering, if you have failed degree, if you have failed 10th standard, please come. And he stopped recruiting people who have passed. He's found some sort of success, but it's still a long way to go, but I want to experiment that soon sometime here. I just thought I'll share with you. Coming to some specific issues regarding to a family business, I just want to know, what are your future plans? Is transitioning to a professional organization on the cards? Some of you have family members playing an active role. What are some of the challenges you face dealing with your son or wife in the business? And the second part of the question, all of you, and of course me, are not so young. Sunil will not agree to this, but we're still in our 40s. The kids don't think you're young. Is succession planning something that you're thinking about? Ashwin?
Yeah. So I have my family here. Can you please rise? Renu, Vibhav, Simran. Yeah, that's my son, my daughter, and of course my wife. So, thanks. We have been, I think my wife has joined me 20 years back, and I have become a changed man after that. Like whatever I could do in my factory, and not say, I had to behave myself in the factory also now. So yeah, of course. A lot of things, what happens when there are good pros and cons. The pros are that when your family is involved, you know that things would be more under control. Things are much under, safer hands. And the con is that if you have a difference of opinion, then it goes home also. So we have been able to overcome that and laugh it off. It took us 10 years to do that, but we have managed to do that. And when your son comes in, he comes in with a lot of new ideas. His peers are different. They are very modern age kids. We are very conservative. We think very old. We are old types. So there's a clash there. So I have stopped. I mean, I don't respond immediately, nor do I react. I tell him, okay, we'll talk about it tomorrow. By tomorrow, his mind changes. So, which is good. Then he realizes possibly what dad is saying is right. But yes, the kids today come with a lot more, forward thinking, quick thinking. They want things happening very fast. Possibly it doesn't happen every time, but sometimes it does. Challenges, yes, a family business, when your business is growing, customer demands also grow. You got to reach out to many customers, especially when you're developing more products. Getting it professional and finding the right balance between the family and the professional, having the same thought process, delegating. Because when you have a professional, the way the professional would run the business and the way you would run it definitely would be different. Possibly, you would be very curious and you would be wondering whether it's the right thing. But then you got to give the authority, keep the faith, and go on. I think building it, a family and a professional combination is something which will definitely be, in our case, going forward, we're going to be definitely working towards that.
Thank you. Sunil?
Well, succession plans, since we're getting old, Paiji. I would love my wife to join business. I would love my son to join me in my business. I would love my daughter to join me in my business.
Sunil's wife and son and daughter also stand up.
Janak So all three of them are the next generation who are going to take care of the business, and I'm going to
retire and party.
No, I'll start some other business. That's the whole plan.
Yeah, I have a slightly different,
of course,
issue on hand. One advice: it's very easy to start a company, and if the next gen is not really, it's not in their line of thinking, it's not their cup of tea, coffee, whatever, then getting out of the business is far tougher than getting into it. Yeah. So the option is more looking at how employees can take over the business, because they have a lot of skin in that game. So from day one we have hired, or let's say part of my team has always been senior people. Some of them have worked with me. So I made it a point right from the beginning that I'm not required in the factory for every single thing. In fact, contrary thinking, I don't meet all the customers. I do go and first set up the business, make the deal, or get them interested and so on and so forth. But so that's more strategic in nature, but all the tactical operational stuff is managed by the next level. So I don't get into that, because between them, customers, there has to be someone who can mediate and say that, okay, fine, we will sort it out or whatever. But if it comes to me and I say no, or I get into some discussion or whatever it is, then there's nowhere else to go. So that's how we have set it up for a while. But going forward, I don't know if my daughter definitely, she's into clinical psychology, and this definitely is not up her alley. My son is a different story. He's an entrepreneur himself, and he once in a way asks, I think his friend is sitting here. So once in a way he asks, how are things, so on and so forth. But his line of thinking is different, and he asked me, can I run this business remotely? I said, it will take many years before that can happen. But anyway, he may change his mind. But in the interim, the thought is, how do you get more of employee ownership into the company so that the company continues, especially when you have larger customers and you are part of their supply chain, you're a single source. It is a very dicey situation. You have to handle that right, so that they don't get affected. So interesting things, when you face the problem, you have to come up with different solutions.
For those of you who remember, Ashok Rao's son Sandeep was a part of the panel in one of our Tycons. I think we're running out of time. I have a few more questions, but I'll end with this one. TIE is an organization that believes in sharing experience and giving back to the community, whether it's mentoring startups, investing in startups, industry associations, NGOs. What have you done about this? And I've read the profiles, and I want to ask you specifically, Ashok, you're involved with CollabSoft, a Mysore-based company, and also the managing trustee of Pratham. Can you expand on what exactly you're doing there and how it takes up your time?
Okay, these are learnings from the last 10 years. How do you do things better? How do you overcome challenges? And one way out is to address the learning curve that people have, especially, the, what you call your L boards who join, so to be fair to them, you need suitable platforms which allow them to very quickly onboard, understand how business is done, and hopefully not make the same mistakes that the previous people have made. So CollabSoft is more, it's not an, it is an ERP, but it's much beyond ERP, where it's basically a knowledge management, knowledge retention tool, which covers a lot of the process part of it, then of course all the transactional part of it, and then we wish to add an AI layer on top of it, so that a lot of learning can be done. So that has also been a challenge, dealing with the, I'm not a software guy, I'm a mechanical engineer, but dealing with the software people, and there it's a revolving door, one fellow joins, the next day he leaves, he vanishes, or so on and so forth. So that is an attempt at that, and that business I manage out of Mysore. It's still in development. Pratham is something which I have been involved for the last, Pratham Mysore is a NGO started by Ashwinni Ranjan. All of you may be familiar with Ashwinni Ranjan of AJS. So he started that, he's the founder trustee, I am the managing trustee currently. We work in the T. Narsipura and Mysore district in rural schools, in remedial education, Anganwadis. So we partner with a number of schools, and we also do a lot of work with the government in terms of remedial education. That's an area where you get to see what is the real state of affairs, whatever you read in Asar, and when you actually go interact with teachers, children, parents, and things like that, it hits you very hard that is the next gen of people who are going to come into the workforce. And their levels of FLN, as they call that, foundational literacy numeracy, is not all that great. And they are the ones who are going to take on all the different things that we were talking about, whether it's at an operational level or what have you. So we're trying to see what little we can do there in terms of addressing this, so that we be focused on remedial education from Anganwadi up to class about 6 or 7.
Wonderful. Sunil, you invested in startups. What has been the experience so far?
You want to know the experience or the learning?
Learning, okay.
The learning is money is earned very, very difficultly, lost very easily. Do not invest until and unless you are 100% sure, or at least you are pretty much confident on the startup. Don't go by the names. Don't go by their experience. They will only bullshit. Don't go by their claims. Don't go by their claims at all. Ask them 10 different questions. If you don't understand the business, recruit 2-3 guys who will ask them, grill them, and only invest. Even if it's 1 rupee, don't invest.
That's a different point of view. Ashwin, I saw a mention of Mysuru plus 6 Paper Tech, an initiative that you mentioned. Can you please let us know what this is and what the purpose?
Mysore Plus Paper is it's a company. So basically, it's run by my son. They are into paper cores and corrugated boxes and canisters. So we also mentor a lot of startups. There are a lot of startups pan-India who are, a lot of them come from Bangalore, surprisingly. wherein they don't know what needs to be going into packing a material, what is the product that they need, and what is the thickness, etc. Very simple things when it comes to our experience, but they are very clueless about it. So we help them, whether they buy from us or not, it doesn't matter. We guide them, we give them some time. They share their designs, artworks. We give them some input, suggestions, and then possibly, if they're happy to, work with us, it's not the agenda that they should work with us, but we would like them to know what exactly needs to be done. And thankfully, we have also been connected very closely with CFTRI and DFRL. So a lot of people who need the right person to be connected, we assist them on that. And Shiv Shankar and team were in my factory last a couple of weeks back. Thank you so much. So we do mentor and guide where we can help the startup or the founder. And that's what we've been doing.
So before we go on to the audience question, I just want one final quick word. With all the stress, how do you take downtime? What do you do for fun and relaxation? I'll take Sunil last because the party might start right after that.
So I go to Nalpak, have a cup of tea, and I just switch off. It doesn't matter, I just watch people around who's coming, who's going, and generally get to catch up with Ajith or somebody else, some friends there, just take it easy. And the best way to get a solution to a problem is stop thinking about it. You actually try that. The moment you're going on grilling yourself, right, you will never get a solution. So otherwise, you go for a movie. Couple of 2-3 weeks back, we had a lot of things going on. I went for a morning show alone. It was good. So it doesn't matter the movie, but then it gives you the break. Just switch off. Nothing will happen. Nothing. The world doesn't come to an end, right? And have an ice cream. Just go out for a drive. Enjoy with your pet. Just stop thinking about that. There will be some solution, and have faith. Keep faith. Everything will work. So that's what I would do.
Thank you, Ashwin. Ashok, apart from coming to Mysuru for the weekends, what is downtime?
Downtime is, I do a little bit of cycling, occasionally ride the bike in and around Mysore. And I work with my hands. I do a lot of carpentry. So I have a small workshop at home. And then I do some drawing, sketching and stuff like that. And then generally, taking it easy. I have not tried that business of going for a morning show. I should try that.
Sunil, what is something you do for relaxation and stay sober at the same time?
Well, it all depends at what time of the day or the night the stress is. So if you're stressed out in the morning and it's really early morning, the best thing to do is go to Cubbon Park if you're in Bangalore, or the lake in the morning, and do some pranayamas. And if it's post 9:30, 10, there are a lot of pubs for your rescue. 10 in the morning, not in the night.
Okay, thank you. We think we've done about an hour and 5 minutes. We had some slips sent out if you want any questions. I don't think anything is filled out. So either they've satisfied all the needs of this audience, or we can open it to some questions on the mic. We can pass the mic around and feel free to ask them questions. They're here for some time after the session as well. There's a question there.
More of Mr. Ashwin and Vaibhav. So here is my question. I'm from IT background, in fact, and now into a D2C brand. So my question is, I struggled a lot to procure the raw materials or items that when I started my D2C startup. But in fact, I found a lot of things available on Alibaba.com, whereas in India it's very hard to figure out. So do you find a missing Alibaba in India to expose, or for the India 2.0 or India 3.0? would be a good thought, or just it doesn't work for India?
What kind of material?
Just say, for example, including a chemicals or packaging itself. Okay, say for example, here I have a bottle here, which I couldn't find any manufacturer in India for this quality, so I had to buy from China. So this is one such example, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a cookie in something. There are n number which come up, which is definitely in India. I think a long way to go. The where you would reach out is maybe Amazon, Flipkart. There are no packaging websites as of now where you can go and find anything and everything under packaging. But there are a lot coming up. There are a few coming up. And to answer your question, it is not so difficult also. I mean, there are a lot of Indian companies doing it. Possibly Google them up, right?
Yeah.
You can definitely find them.
Yeah, but there's no one-stop solution.
No, there'll never
that
be
I
a
cannot-
one-stop
yeah.
solution.
That's a challenge. Plus, another thing is trust. Okay, in Alibaba I can trust, I can get the refund. But in India, I don't feel that. I haven't come across any such platform. Yes, to some extent, yes, because I have Vaibhav.
No. We'll discuss this later. Sure. Maybe you got it wrong or Sunil got it wrong.
Right.
So Sunil's question was, do you trust Vaibhav?
Yes. Okay. After certain, transaction.
Okay, thank you.
So, and another challenge. Okay, again, a startup like us, it's again going to be a big challenge to, start the exports or, get more visibility across India. So, what would be your advice? Anybody can answer, in fact. Your advice for a D2C brand to, get more visibility with limited,
See, first
capital.
of all, any brand, you all you may think that the easiest way is to reach out to the marketplaces, Amazon, Flipkart, and sell your product. But it need not be so easy, because there would already be many people already listed on that. So the best way to sell a product, possibly in my opinion, would be to have a closer group where you can reach out to people, how you can sell it offline. Right?
Right.
The best way to get is, if you make a small batch, 5,000 pieces, 3,000 pieces, reach out, get that successful, go to the next stage, go to the next stage. See, each product may have a different calling. Each product may need a different way of selling. So possibly you need to find the best suit for your product. How is it sold best? That would, I think you need to do a little bit of work on that, and possibly reach out to a few marketing guys marketing people who are, good in that, who are geniuses in that.
Right.
To sell out your product. If it's something to do with packaging, please reach out to us. Any kind of a vertical, we'll try to help you connect to the right people.
Sure, thank you. I mean, you gave us a good thought about dissolvable package, which we are desperately looking for.
We're working on it. Maybe another 6 months to 12 months, we should be able to launch it.
Yeah, that will be too far for us, but we'll try to. Wait.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anil.
Thank you.
Myself, Danya SS. I'm from G+ITW Mysuru. Firstly, I would like to thank TIE Mysuru for this great opportunity to meet such great entrepreneurs. My question is, anybody can answer for this question. In your successful journey, you have gone through so many leaps and bounds. So how did you face it, and what are all the insights, suggestions or advices can you give to the young or youth generation to become a successful entrepreneur?
Well,
That's going to be a tough one.
the first thing you should not do is, you ask me things to do, probably then, can I change the question to things to do?
Okay, sir.
The things to do is, be very, very optimistic. No entrepreneur will succeed if he's not optimistic. The moment you're sure of a product, the moment you're sure there's a marketplace, the moment you have a little bit of money that you can afford to take a chance, to take a risk, please go ahead. You're not going to get good opportunities. Try to be very, very positive about the whole thing. There will be ups, there will be downs, there will be obstacles, but remember one thing, beyond every obstacle is where your treasure is going to be. The moment you succeed a little bit, things will fall automatically in place. You will get somebody to invest if you want funds at that point of time. All that can start, the ball will start rolling only if you say, let's go. Just be confident and definitely work hard. Yes, honestly. Honesty is very important. And never get scared. You will have a lot of guys who will try to bully you when you are young in the business. When you're new to the business, you'll have the guys who are already established who don't want you to be there. Just look back and say, what can I do? Think, take your time, think what you can do. For every problem, there is a solution. First a solution is made, then the problem comes. A problem will never come without a solution. That's it.
Thank you, sir.
There's a hand up here, sir.
Couple of questions. One is not actually a question, it's more a suggestion. Recently, we reviewed the pitch by an app developer, a company called CareerX. Now, what they do is, exactly after the job offers are made, how to keep them engaged and make sure that the success rate of the onboarding is improved. I think Shiva, you were there in that company. Now I'm trying to refer them to few of the companies here. I sent one to Meenakshi also to give a feedback how to see. And that could be one thing you can try out. I don't know how far it is relevant to your situation, but the other one is, see, in a growing competition, if you want to give value-added service, one of the things you can think of is using IoT. For example, in packaging, you can offer to monitor stocks at the customer end. So they don't have to worry about monitoring stock and releasing order and you wait. Today that's possible. IoT is possible and someone sitting here can do it for you. So I think that can apply, may not be so much for furniture because it's a very discrete order. But maybe Ashok, internally also you can use IoT for your controlling. So what's your thought on this?
A very important part where we can manage the customer's products. We also work. There are a few companies who we are sole suppliers to, and there we make sure that we have a product in place for the next quarter. Depending on their sales, we also get back to them saying that, look, last month you bought A, B, C, D, and this was more or this was less, and there could be a sudden spurt or there could be a sudden drop. So it does help. It also gives it also reflects to the customer as to what sold more and what did not sell and which point it sold more and which point it did not. But it's a long way to go because the number of products, the number of the customers themselves, most of them are developing these things within their own companies. So definitely yes, it is going to be the future. We need to see where it can adopt and where it adapts and where we can fix it up within our companies.
Ashok, can you comment?
IoT works when you have a larger framework. You know, sensors and things like that will give feedback, but it needs to feed into a model. With the feedback, what next? So that is missing in a lot of the legacy or the earlier plants. And some of the other challenges that you typically run into with IoT is that you have a lot of proprietary stuff that sits inside CNC controls, PLC programs, and so on and so forth. So while on paper, a lot of things are mentioned, but when we have been doing a lot of that implementation in our own plants, but you start running into all kinds of barriers. I'm talking from a digital software and hardware point of view, which doesn't make that journey all that easy, number one. And number two, unless you have a larger framework where all these bits and pieces of data which are coming are then getting translated into meaningful information where a manager, an operations guy or whatever can start taking decisions, which make life easy for everybody. Many a times, those are, let's say, they are limited highways. So, you don't get the full picture, you don't get the real control of the plant. So it ends up in a lot of investment, but no returns, or let us say, suboptimal returns. So
I want to answer one more thing. IoT in our factory, we implemented it on our machines, right? The only place where it's working right now are two. One is the boiler and one is the solar. I put it on my production line. The operator got frustrated because he said, a boss is monitoring me every day. He said, why did the machine stop for 4 hours? And if I have to trip out on him or, catch him for something, I'll use that. See, every day 4 hours machine is stopped. He went and complained to his immediate senior, I'm not working. Boss doesn't believe me. So, there's a long way to go, but definitely yes, we are getting adapted to it. We need them to understand and involve. On the production side, it's a great idea actually, and we have actually implemented it. Most of our equipment is IoT ready. We just need to plug it in and we understand what's happening on each line.
One more question and then probably we end the session.
Technology that you have is really world class, on par with the best in the world, which is fantastic. How do you make it happen? Do you invest a lot in R&D? Typically, how much do you invest in innovation R&D in your business?
Available. We look at what's most innovative and what's the future. We also look at a lot of, for example, anti-counterfeiting. So we know that there's a lot of duplicates in the market. There's a lot of copies and duplicates. So MRF tires are sold NRF butyl tubes. CAT is sold CO80. There are a lot of, MyPol is also sold. There are a lot of copies and there are a lot of spurious and duplicates also. So we foresee that, how do you identify a spurious? It's only by packaging. So we foresee that there is going to be a huge shift towards holography, track and trace, dynamic QR codes in every pack. So every pouch that you buy, millions of pouches that we produce, each of them will have a unique QR code. It will have an alphanumerical code, which the customer can link it to his website. When you scan it, it takes you to the website and tells you when it was manufactured, etc., etc. So we foresee is we need to sit and understand and look at things, and we are in a lot of groups. Today technology is so good, we are connected to a lot of people globally. We understand what's happening, what's the best happening in different parts of the globe. And we can pull out things. See, this is for us to look at what works for our country. What works for Europe may not work for India. But we can pull out what works for our country, bring it here. So that's how we keep working, and the innovations happen by need. That's how based on the need, what could go in to make it work. So that's how we work.
One last question. There's a lady student up there who want to take, and then we'll end.
And it's not a basically question, but I'm curious to know that you just mentioned earlier that failure candidates will make a successful life. Can I know how it is?
So you want the person who's got the best marks, but invariably in a small and medium-sized industry, they don't stick around. They come here and like you were saying, you recruit 10, there'll be 2 left. So this customer of mine actually tried it. He's actually in his offices, his factory is in Chikbalapur. He actually gave out advertisement says that he will encourage students who have failed to come and join. 2 things. They're thankful for the opportunity that comes. Secondly, they have a life outside of just passing and going to grade, because not everybody needs to go and get into a IIT or an engineering school. So you have those vocational skills that he can impart. So he's got a full-fledged training school that he takes. And he's found success in the program because especially students who have not passed 10th standard and had difficulty because they're typically villages, they've gone into cities. These are the opportunities that they have, and at least the funnel, the people incoming who come and sit for interviews is much more. This may not work for all industry, obviously software it won't work for engineering skills. But if it's a routine skill that you can train and it's a trainable skill, then that's something that can work. So that's what we meant. So it's not like if you fail, you won't succeed in life. That's not meant. Thank you. Anyway, thank you. I hope the last hour and a half or so has been one journey where we were able to bring out their entrepreneurial journey.
Yes, Ashwin, Sunil, Ashok and Mr. Pai. So thanks for bringing it to the notice, Mr. Rakesh Babu. And definitely you people will get a chance to interact with all the dignitaries. And thank you so much, Mr. Ajith Pai sir, for conducting this fireside chat on a very fluent way. Now I request Dr. Mahesh Rao to hand over a memento to Mr. Ashok Rao as a token of gratitude and appreciation. A big round of applause to all the dignitaries, please. occasion. Special thanks to all the three distinguished personalities who graced this occasion and made it a huge success. The family members of all the three distinguished invitees. We from Time Mysuru extend our greetings and heartfelt thanks to Team Inside Out for all the arrangements done, photography, video coverage and other necessities. And to the staff of Hotel Le Ruchi, the Prince, for food and the venue facilities. I also thank all the charter members and associate members for their immense support and their attendance for making this event a great success. And I also specially mention and thanks and big round of applause to all the student members who are part of GSSS, IETW, Vidya Vardhaka, NIE and Cresta Few. In his absence, I extend my greetings to Mr. Mahesh Katale, the Executive Director of Time Mysuru, for coordinating the event all the way from Bidar due to some emergency, medical emergency he is going through with his family members. So prayers to all his family members to get recovered soon. Thank you all and have a great networking dinner ahead. Thank you.